We told you a few minutes ago a bill to ensure funding for the health care of 9/11 first responders is being blocked in the Senate by two Republicans, Senators Rand Paul and Mike Lee. Senator Paul took to the floor today saying the spending needs to be offset by cuts elsewhere. We're going to get reaction now from Jon Stewart, comedian, activist. He's been a leading advocate for this fund, and one of the first responders, John Feal. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Mr. Feal, thanks for your service. I just want to get your reaction first to this news today and kind of what you're thinking.
Well, thank you for having us, and you guys have been generous with your time at Fox telling our story, so thank you. Listen, we're not surprised by Senator Lee and Paul. This is their MO. We kind of had an idea that this would happen, but if you watched yesterday when South Dakota Majority Whip Thune, he did a Rule 14 unanimous consent before Senator Gillibrand did her unanimous consent. And Mitch McConnell, he gave us his word, and he's been sincere about that. And we're confident when the bill goes on the floor for a straight up and down vote, Senator Lee and Senator Paul are going to lose. And any amendment they try to make, you know, we have 73 co-sponsors. We have a 2/3 majority, and I don't think anything they have to offer holds water. But, you know, let's get to, you know, Rand Paul got $580,000 for broken ribs. We get $250,000 for cancer. Tom Wilson, who had tongue removed and his neck reconstructed, gets $250,000. He'll probably die from cancer. Luis Alvarez died from cancer. He got $250,000. So I think both of the senators, the people from the state of Kentucky and the people from the state of Utah deserve better.
Much better.
And I think they lack humanity.
Yeah, this is what the Washington Post says about this fund. This says the fund provides money to those who've contracted diseases that have been linked to exposure to toxic debris in the aftermath of September 11th attacks, which we knew. Under current law, the fund is scheduled to stop taking claims in December 2020. The new legislation would extend the program for 7 decades at an estimated cost of $10.2 billion for the first decade. Here's how Senator Paul said it on the floor today.
Any new spending that we are approaching, any new program that's going to have the longevity of 70, 80 years should be offset by cutting spending that's less valuable. We need to, at the very least, have this debate. I will be offering up an amendment if this bill should come to the floor, but until then, I will object.
Jon Stewart, your reaction to that?
It's absolutely outrageous, and you'll pardon me if I'm not impressed in any way by Rand Paul's fiscal responsibility virtue signaling. Rand Paul presented tissue paper avoidance of the $1.5 trillion tax cut that added hundreds of billions of dollars to our deficit. And now he stands up at the last minute after 15 years of blood, sweat, and tears from the 9/11 community to say that it's all over now. Now we're going to balance the budget on the backs of the 9/11 first responder community. Brett, this is about what kind of society do we have. At some point, we have to stand up for the people who have always stood up for us. And at this moment in time, maybe cannot stand up for themselves due to their illnesses and their injuries. And what Rand Paul did today on the Senate was outrageous. He is a guy that put us in hundreds of billions of dollars of debt. He was the 51st vote on that cut. And now he's going to tell us that $1 billion a year over 10 years is just too much for us to handle. You know, there's some things that they have no trouble putting on the credit card. But somehow when it comes to the 9/11 first responder community, the cops, the firefighters, the construction workers, the volunteers, the survivors, all of a sudden, man, we got to go through this. This program has already been running for 5 years. No fraud. It was testified when we went in front of Congress. The special paymaster testified. No fraud, no waste, no abuse. Yeah. Mike Lee, we met in his office 5 years ago. He looked us in the eye. He looked Ray Pfeiffer in the eye, who unfortunately is no longer with us, and said he was going to look into it. He is the reason that we've had to go back again for this new one, and now he wants to put another cap on it that's going to make John Fiel and all these other tenacious yet ill first responders drag themselves back to Washington to put their hats in their hands and beg for something that this country should have done 14 years ago.
You know,
it's an abomination.
We asked both senators for a statement. Senator Paul's office sent a statement saying Senator Paul is not blocking anything. He's simply seeking to pay for it. As with any bill, Senator Paul always believes it needs to be paid for. Senator Paul is simply offering an amendment which other senators support to pay for this legislation. Obviously, after all that you've said here and attending the funeral of your colleague, Luis Alvarez, John Fiel, that's not where you are.
No, listen, Senator Paul and Senator Lee are opportunists. They're bottom feeders, and any statement that they come out with doesn't hold water with me. You can't cherry pick and choose when you want to be a conservative fiscal hawk. That's just insulting to our intelligence, and shame on them. They lack humanity, they lack leadership, and they just do this because, listen, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Mike Lee, even their own colleagues don't like them. We don't like them. And when we get this bill passed, then we beat them again. And we're going to walk out and we're going to hold our chins up high and our chest out, and we're going to say we beat Rand Paul and Mike Lee. You know, we met Mike Lee a couple months ago, his staff. They promised, they swore up and down that they were not going to get in the way of this. Mike Lee, you're a liar.
But the other thing, too, Brett, is to remember, at what point, this is either necessary or it's not. And everybody agrees that it's necessary. So we're either doing this or without. There's either a need or it's not. Your budgetary priorities are either moved by a moral compass or they're not. And this is an outrageous place for them to take a stand and cause, once again, pain and heartache and suffering within a community that has felt so much of that over these past few years and is going to be suffering more.
And Brett, you know, this is what people see as a major defeat today, is a minor setback, and it's just going to propel us to a bigger win. And we're confident that after meeting with Mitch McConnell, that he's kept his word and he's working diligently to get this bill on the floor for a straight up and down vote. And that's what we always wanted. The unanimous consent was easy, but we want a straight up and down vote because we didn't get it in 2010, we didn't get it in 2015, right. And we want to walk out watching the fruition of our work come to an end.
It's the same song and dance they've given us for 14 years now. This program has proven itself. It has shown itself to be faithful to the statute. It has shown itself to be fair to the claimant, and it has shown itself to be respectful to the taxpayers. And that's all we can ask of a program. But most importantly, it brings just a moment's peace to a community that has suffered and continues to suffer.
John Stewart,
because of their heroism.
John Stewart and John Fiel. Again, John Fiel, thank you for your service. We'll continue to follow it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.